Many things could be a federal or a state crime. For example, any drug case, almost any fraud case. So it's just whichever court it ends up in. Now, the vast majority of cases in America are prosecuted in a state court. And if there's any sort of pattern to it, it would generally be that the more serious ones are picked up by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Not always, but that's generally the pattern. So higher money amounts, more drugs, bigger organizations, that kind of thing. That pattern doesn't always hold, but that's roughly how that is. Any kind of a internet-related crime could be federal if they wanted to. Generally, murder and rape, these kind of violent crimes, are not federal unless they were on federal property. It's a lot of the same kind of things. The courts operate under the same basic structure, but they are quite different. The laws are different, the rules are different. Federal court is more formal. The way that the cases are negotiated is different. Often the penalties are higher in federal court, not always, but it can be. And one of the biggest things about it is the benefit of pleading guilty, or I would say the punishment for fighting your case makes it riskier to go to trial in a federal case. Because if you plead guilty, the penalties are so substantially lower. And sometimes that's true in state court if you turn down a plea agreement or for other reasons, but it isn't as stark of a difference. So the leverage that the federal courts have, prosecutors and FBI have against someone is much higher because, one, they usually don't bring a case that hasn't been thoroughly investigated. They've had time to look into it and brought it because they think they have what they need to win the case. That's often not true in state court. People are arrested right on the street. There's a different level of investigation, and there are many cases in state court that are simply not very strong. It's very often not the case in federal court. And two, because what I said before, the penalty imposed for going to trial is high. The courts call it not a penalty, it's a benefit for pleading guilty. It's not a penalty for going to trial, but same thing. There are less trials in federal court, but the work involved is still intense in terms of getting the right result and trying to get the person where they need to be.